The Canadian Card Collector here, and welcome back to day 399 of your daily deck review. And the deck that we're taking a look at today is the Bucks Souvenir Edition playing cards from Fulton and Dan and Dave. So, with no further ado, let's take a look and see what we get. So here we have the Bucks playing cards here, the Souvenir Edition, also known as the White Edition because it also is a white here. These are still fully sealed, so we're going to have to crack that cellophane. So there is, I think there's a pull tab over here. But we'll be back when they're open. Okay, now that that's off, we can see that it is in like a more of like a not a matte. It's not like a complete matte finish, more like a satin kind of finish. Tuck box because there's a little bit of shine, but not too much. So the white, it's a kind of like a slightly off white satin colored tuck box here, or finished tuck box with that little gold metallic kind of little border with the gold metallic box there. And this is the box with the two heads there. The white, yeah, it was the two heads there in that gold metallic. Then you got the box logo there in blue here. And this is like one of the newer editions of the box. Because years ago they came out with the original box that only had one head there. So this is the newer version with the two heads and the white colorway. On one side it says a Dan and it says Dan Bucks playing cards. The other side says a Dave Bucks playing cards. And it says produced by Fulton Playing Card Co. in collaboration with Dan and Dave, illustrated by Jeff Trish, distributed by Dan and Dave. So you got the Fulton's logo and the Dan and Dave logo, made in China. There. And then on the back is just the same as the front of the tuck box, the Bucks logo with the deer there. And then there is no seal on the top, it's just that kind of plain white colorway. There was no texture to the tuck box. And on the tuck flap, it's just that same kind of white finish. And then on the inner tuck flaps, it says 11 and 06 there. Those are probably some kind of numbers, but I'm not entirely sure. And if we take the cards out of the box, on the inside of the tuck box is just plain white, nothing too crazy or fancy going on inside there. And now that we took a look at the tuck box, time to take a look at the cards. And now we'll start with the back side. So here we have the back side, which we saw on the front of the tuck box. Here, so it's the same design as the front of the tuck box. They're just like the blue Bucks logo with the Bucks there with the two heads and that gold metallic ink with the mountains and trees behind them. And it has that gold little border and then the standard white border. So this is a one-way back side. So if I flip it over, the design would be upside down. But now, for the one thing I didn't know about the deck, before we get to take a look at the faces of them, the first thing is, I didn't know these cards were gilded, which is a nice touch. So it has that gold gilding on all four edges of the cards, which I did not know that they had these. So it makes the deck a little bit more fancier than like the standard like red ones and stuff. So I did not know it was gilded. But now for the cards. Here we start with the first Joker, which is Joker Joker there. And then you got that Tucker logo with the two buck heads there. And it says Bucks just underneath there. Then you got a second Joker, which is identical, just like a slightly different shade of like the gold. So it's like a slightly darker gold on this one and more lighter gold on this one. There, but other than that, then the design is pretty identical. And then you got that custom Ace of Spades, which is pretty much like a standard kind of generic kind of like spade there. Nothing like too crazy going on there. And then the rest of the cards are like slightly different kind of style pip, but like still pretty standard there. Nothing like too crazy. And then you got those pretty standard court cards. There's like different styles. There's like the bicycle kind of font, then there's like Arco Pips, and then like Tally or Hoyle or something like that. So it could be one of them. Obviously, it's not the bicycle font, but and then you got the hearts, which are pretty standard there, just a slightly different style pips. And also the court cards are slightly different, but pretty like same colors and pretty much same design. And then the clubs are also that same kind of like slightly different font, still standard. And you got the Jack, Queen, and King of Clubs, once again, pretty standard, but the slightly different font. And that goes with the rest of the cards, I guess. So the diamonds are also like that. And then the last two cards in the deck, you got a blank face. And then you got this kind of little Dan and Dave Fulton's little ad card here. It's more like a realistic kind of picture there with the Fulton's and Dan and Dave logo. And you got the little deer there behind some trees there, or in front of some trees there. But now that we took a look at the cards, time to test the handling. And first, we'll start with the springs, and we'll test out how this gilding feels in the hands. It makes the cards slightly a little bit like sharper there, and you can slightly see like the thickness of the cards is a little bit harder on camera. Or you can, but yeah, we'll start with the springs. Well, the springs seem to be pretty smooth there, and it is that different stock and finish just because it said on the bottom of the talk box, made in China, so it has that different feel to it compared to like the regular like air cushion finish stock that they usually print on, or like the United States Blanket Company finish. Well, they still spring pretty nice. They're a little bit slippery, but not like too bad. A pretty nice spring straight out of the box. A little bit stiff just because of the new cards. And the gilding might make it a little bit thicker, but not too bad. Now for the fans. As you can see, they spread pretty evenly there. You can see most pips and numbers, no stickiness or clippiness to the cards. Now for the Pharaoh. They feel decent. They kind of lightly stuck together. I'm not sure if it's the gilding that makes them stick a little bit, but they still like weave together pretty nicely. Now for a giant fan of the back design. And now for that reverse Pharaoh. Okay, and the reverse wheel is definitely a little bit more sticky. That's definitely have to push them together a little bit more, but still pretty nice. And now for a giant fan of the faces. And now time for the riffle shuffle or bridge shuffle. And this is the point of the video where that one-way back done will get all mixed up. Well, pretty nice riffle shuffles and bridge shuffles. Nice and smooth. Now for a few little packet cuts. Overall, pretty nice packet cuts. There, they pack it pretty good. Most decks pack it the same, like I always say. Now for that one-handed cut, or surely a cut. Now time for the dribble. Definitely have a little bit more grip and control with the faces up. But overall, they're still a little bit clumpy. Just because I think the gilding makes them a little bit thick. But they still do dribble a little bit. And I noticed that the corners, when you're dribbling them, they're a little bit on the sharper edge side, just because it has the gilding there. So it makes it a little bit sharper on the edges. So just be careful there, because they do slightly hurt your fingers when dribbling. Oh well, not too bad. Now for that spread fan. And lastly, spread the cards on the table. Well, I gotta say, Dan and Dave and Fulton has made another fantastic deck there, even though it's a one-way back design. But you're kind of expecting that. There you got that nice blue Bucks logo with that kind of white and gold colorway over there. Whereas the Bucks there was the two head, or the Buck there was the two heads there for obviously Dan and Dave there. So overall, fantastic design. Love that kind of white and gold colorway. Then you got the faces here, which are pretty standard there. They're not like the standard like Bicycle United States Plate Company font. It's like a slightly different kind of font there. But it's still pretty nice there, even though it's standard there. It's supposed to look like an older classic kind of style deck, I guess. And the best part of the deck is that it's gilded, and I had no idea that the cards were gold gilded, which makes it more fantastic. So it adds to that kind of white and gold kind of feel of the cards there, which looks fantastic. There, obviously, I said like the gilding's a little bit sharper on the edges. So you gotta be careful with that if you handle gilded decks. And some people might not like the gilded decks, but I don't mind them. They add a little bit something to the cards there. Obviously, not every color guild's not going to look the best, because I have some in my collection that, are okay, and I'll review those someday on the channel. And then for the handling, they handle it decently for the gilding. They do some things better than others, and they are that China kind of stock and finish, which I'm not sure exactly what company they used, but I have to look into that. But they still handle pretty nicely though. They're still like smooth though. They still like fan pretty nicely there and stuff like that. So pretty much other than like the sharp edges, they still feel nice in the hands. So I guess with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. This has been day 490, no, day 399 of your daily deck review. This has been the Bucks Souvenir Edition, or the White Bucks from Fulton and Dan and Dave. And I'm the Canadian Card Collector signing out. That's the video. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.